Hello, welcome to my channel, Tired Old Man. I hope you've been enjoying the videos that I've been posting about the 1820s era house that that I lived in when I was younger. Today we're not gonna be any video. It's mostly gonna be story time. My kids have requested for me to tell some of the stories that I have been telling to them all of their lives. And one of my sons even requested that's when we asked him what he wanted for Christmas. He said, Dad, just sit down and film yourself telling stories. I don't think of myself as a good storyteller, but evidently they want to preserve the history of the stories, and so he's asked for that. And he asked for that even before I had even thought about doing a YouTube channel. But anyways, this video might be a little long, so if you get tired of listening to a tired old man just ramble on, just turn me off and come back and listen to the rest of the stories later. Or I hope they're interested enough that you will keep watching and watch all of them. I can't tell all of my stories in one video. I've just got too many stories, but I am going to try to tell some of them. And I want to start out with the picture that you're seeing here on video is the oldest picture that I have, and it's the oldest picture that I have ever seen of the house. And we've called that house different things over the years. We called it Aunt Cora's house when she was living, and then after Aunt Cora passed away, it changed over to Pa and Granny's house. So if I refer to it as Aunt Cora's house or Pa and Granny's house, it's all the same house. So, but the house you're looking at here is, like I said, is the oldest picture that I have. And it doesn't show all of the house. And I'm going to show you where this picture actually come from. This picture come from when they took a picture of me. I'm the little boy that's in the picture. And that picture was taken in June of 1958. And why they set me in the middle of the yard and put, best I can tell, looks like a cotton plant beside of me and took a picture, I have no idea, but I sure am glad they took that picture. Not only because I'm in it, but because the house is in it, and it shows what that house looked like in 1958. And one of the stories I want to tell today, you'll be able to understand. The house had no underpinning on it. As you can see, it was not underpinned. It was sitting on brick pillars, and even under the house, some of the places it had cut off pieces of logs, and it was sitting on those. It wasn't even sitting on brick or concrete or cement blocks in some places. But one of the stories I'll tell today, and I'll get into that a little later. I don't want to ramble on too much, but I did want to tell you what the picture is that you're seeing, and why that picture, like I said, was taken. I don't know. Um, there was back in the 50s and really early 60s. At least our family, did not have a portable camera. So if you wanted to have a picture taken, you had to go to a photography studio in town and have a picture taken. And so that's the reason there is no pictures of just houses, especially my house, way back. I mean, I come from, we were poor people. The Lord has been good to me now, but we were poor when I was coming up, and I don't try to hide from that fact. But you know what? A lot of other folks were poor back then too, and we were all poor. We just didn't know we were poor, and but we had a good time. I had a great childhood, great childhood. But anyways, let me get on to one of the stories. I'm going to start off with telling the story about the rooster. The kids have enjoyed this over the years of me telling this story. Um, this story happened when I was, I don't know, I was probably maybe in the second grade of school, somewhere around in there. But I had a younger brother. His name was Daryl. He's since gone on to be with his Lord, but he was about 3 years younger than I was. But him and I both lived in this house and were raised in this house. But we wanted biddies for Christmas, little chicken biddies, and that's what not for Christmas. I'm sorry, that's what we wanted for Easter. And back then, you could go to the little farm stores and stuff, and they had colored biddies. They would be different color. I don't know how they changed them a different color, and that color wore off later on. But anyways, we wanted biddies, and so they got us some biddies, and lo and behold, most of the biddies back then that you bought were roosters, and so we got them and we raised them, and it was fun raising them. But after a while, they got to be grown roosters, and they turned out to be mean roosters, especially one of them. And that rooster he would chase you wherever you went. And come to find out, as I've gotten older, and if you look around on Facebook and some of the other places, you'll see that I wasn't the only one that had roosters that chased them. But but at the time, I thought I was the only one that had a rooster that would chase you, and uh, he chased you because I was scared to death of him, and so was my brother Daryl. Now the grown-ups in the family, he would not chase them. He didn't. He would just be around. And back in those days, the chickens, they just run free in the yard. I mean, they were not caged up. The parents and Granny and Pa just let them run free. And but anyways, that rooster, like I said, would chase us, and I was, like I said, scared to death of him. And my pa told me, he said, "Son," he said, "that rooster, the only reason he chases you is because y'all run from him." And he said, "Just go outside and act normal, and don't run from him, and he won't chase you." And so my brother he got brave, and he decided he'd just go outside and see. So back in those days, we didn't. It was summertime. We didn't wear a shirt. We were little boys, and we just had on pants or shorts, and we didn't wear a shirt. So he went outside, and he had no more than got outside and turned the corner, and that rooster, he would set up on top of the house. I mean, on the peak of the house, and I'm gonna show you a picture here where he would sit. He'd sit right there and wait for us to come outside. I don't know where he thought it was a game. I don't know, but he would sit up there. And when Daryl went outside, that rooster swooped down and got on his back and spurred him and pecked him and blooded his back up. Now, that made me even more scared of that rooster. And I cannot tell you why that rooster didn't become chicken stew. I don't know. Um, if if it had been one of my children, I think they were trying to teach us not to be scared of him. But when that happened to my brother, he would have been a chicken stew if I'd been grown. But anyways, he didn't, and he continued to chase us. Um, I had friends, they used to come and play at my house all the time until I got that rooster. And when I got that rooster, none of my friends, if I wanted to play, I had to go to their house and play because I couldn't play outside because of the rooster. And none of my friends would come over because they were just as scared of the rooster as I was. And so I had no friends to come and play. But the kids, when I'd get off the school bus, they'd all come running and pile up on one side of the bus so they could watch me get off the bus and walk from the bus to my house. And I believe the bus driver sat there just so that they could watch it. Because back then, when I was growing up, grown-ups did not drive the school buses. The juniors and seniors in school drove the school buses. But the school bus would sit there and wait and watch me get in the house. And that rooster was sitting on top of the house waiting for me to get off the school bus. Now, my brother was not old enough. He was not going to school yet. But I had to get off the bus and walk from that bus to the house. And evidently it was funny to the kids, but it was not funny to me because I was petrified to go from that bus to the house every day. Well, I don't know how long it went on, but when I was a kid, it seemed like it went on for years. But it didn't. It was probably just a few weeks. But those kids on the school bus really got a kick out of watching me go and run from that rooster to get in the house, because it was not a slow thing for me to walk from the bus to the house. But another time, my pa told me, he said, son, he said, go out there to that switch tree. And we had a switch tree, and if we needed it, it got used on us. But not a lot. But if we needed it, sometimes they would have to go get a switch, or we would have to go get it and bring it back to them. And if we didn't get the right kind of switch, they say go back and get another one until we got one that they thought we should have. But anyways, he told me, he said, go get that switch. And he said, when you go out, and if that rooster chases you, you just stop and you turn around and you wear that rooster out. And he said, that rooster will leave you alone. So I went and got me a switch. And the next time I went out, I carried my switch with me. And that thing was about, I don't know, it was probably about 2 foot long, maybe a little longer. And not very big, but I had a switch. And that was my protection, I thought. Well, when I went out, sure enough, as soon as I got outside, that rooster took off behind me, and I run just as hard as I could go, and had that switch in my hand. And I finally got up enough nerve. I stopped dead in my tracks, right in the middle of the yard, and I stopped and I turned around, and that rooster stopped, and he stopped about 3 foot from me. He stopped and looked up at me. He said, I got you now. And I looked down at that rooster, and he looked at me, and we were staring at one another. And I took that switch and I just wore him out. I mean, I was whooping him good. After a while, that switch went but about that long. And I stopped whooping him, and that rooster looked up at me and he said, is that all you got? And he took in after me, and I run for all I was worth until I got in the house. And so that didn't work. But eventually, the rooster did come to his demise. No, he did not turn into chicken stew. But that's the story of me and the rooster. The next story I'm going to tell you is kind of a Christmas story. It's happened around Christmas time, and I was probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood maybe. And it was about the time that I had begun to question Santa Claus. And I didn't, I kind of thought that my parents might be getting me, my granny and pa might be getting me my Christmas. And so I wanted to go find what I was getting for Christmas. So my granny went outside. There was no washers and dryers at our house back then. There was a washer, and it was Granny. But the clothes got hung on a clothesline. As you can see in the picture, the clothesline that you can see there has a rug or something hung on it. Well, that's where the clothesline was, kind of down there at the end of the kitchen. And she had gone out to hang out clothes, and Pa was off working somewhere. So I said, this is a good time for me to go find my Christmas. And so I started searching. And I knew what I had asked for, but I didn't know where I was going to get it or not. I wanted it like a G.I. Joe Jeep. I wanted a big Jeep. I mean, big. And Jeeps back then, or toys back then, they were real toys. They weren't the plastic stuff that you get now. This Jeep was metal and had real sturdy wheels on. I mean, it was a Jeep. But anyways, I went looking for it and I found it. Found it under a bed. Well, I wanted to play with that thing, and it was a big. I mean, that thing was big, and so playing with it in the house, I couldn't get but so much out of it. So I said, "Well, Granny's hanging out clothes. I'm gonna go outside." So I slipped out the door and went around to the other end of the house, and I was playing with that Jeep. And what I was doing is I had hold of it with both hands like that, and had it down on the ground, and I was running behind it, pushing, bent over. And so it was like my head was pointing towards the ground, and I was running, pushing that Jeep on the ground. And I running around, driving it, and having a good time being a youngin'. And I said, well, to myself, I said, well, Granny's going to quit hanging out clothes, and I got to get this thing back under the bed. So I was driving it, and I was coming back, and we always used the door that went into what we called a porch. And uh, that's the door that we always used to go in and out of. That front door at the main part of the house, it never got used, never, hardly ever. And unless you were trying to move a piece of furniture in or out or something like that, that door didn't get open. So we always went in and out the door going into the porch. And so I had to go back and get kind of close to where Granny was hanging out the clothes. So I was pushing that thing for all I was worth, and I come around the corner, and as you can see, the kitchen is kind of set back a little bit from the main part of the house. It's not quite as, didn't come all the way out to the front of it. Well, I come around that corner and I turned that corner, and when I did, I didn't put on brakes quick enough, and the Jeep hit the first step, and my head hit the second step, and it knocked me just as cold as a cucumber. I mean, it knocked me out. And Granny, evidently, she heard me when I run into the steps. And next thing I know, she was picking me up and carrying me in the house. And she got me in the house, and she found out that I was not seriously hurt. I had just stunned myself, but I don't know where she knew I was knocked out or not, but I was knocked out. As the cartoons used to say, I seen stars going round and round. But anyways, she got me in the house, and when she found out that I wasn't seriously hurt, she laid into me, buddy. I don't mean whooping me, but she let me hold it. What in the world was I doing going looking for my Christmas present and finding it? And not only did I find it, I played with it and carried it outside and played with it. And she was not a happy camper with old Glenn. And I was just sitting there and didn't know what to do. So this was probably a week or two before Christmas. And so she finished her fussing and took the Jeep and put it back in the house, and told me, said, don't you touch that thing again. Don't you bother it no more. And, yes, ma'am. So I was waiting for Christmas. I couldn't wait to get that Jeep out and play with it. And Christmas morning come, and I was just like all youngins, except I knew what I was getting. I knew I was getting that Jeep. And so Christmas morning come, and no Jeep. Now I got something, but I was so upset over that not getting that Jeep, I can't remember where I got. So, uh, but there was no Jeep. I I don't know what happened to that Jeep. Santa Claus come back and got it, carried it, give it to another little boy. I have no idea. But old Glenn didn't get the Jeep. And so the moral of the story is, don't go looking for your Christmas before Christmas. Because if you do, you might not get it at Christmas. And I promise you, old Glenn never went searching for his Christmas again. And that taught me my lesson, because I knew if I wanted it, I better not get it and play with it before Christmas. But that's the story of the Jeep and Glenn getting knocked out. Hope you enjoy. Another story I want to share with you today is is concerning another set of steps. Um, It's not the steps that were going into the porch, but these steps are actually, as you can see on the picture, they're the steps that actually went into what we call the house, the big part of the house. And I'm gonna tell you a little story about the house too. We, as I was growing up, and we still do today, we call the original part of the house the 4 rooms, the 2 loft rooms, and the 2 bottom rooms. And now there's been some more rooms added to that, but we call that the house. And the other part is called the kitchen. So if you're in the kitchen and somebody wants to know where you're at, they don't say you're in Aunt Cora's room, or you're in the big room, or you're in your bedroom. They say you're in the house. And if you're um, in the kitchen, of course, and you're in somebody else is in the house, then that's where it's at. It's in the kitchen. And I'll tell another story about that part of it later on. But this story involves those set of steps that you can see on the picture. And this happened when I was a little boy also. I can't remember how old I was. Um, as you can see in the picture, when I'm a little boy sitting on the ground, the house was not underpinned. And I used to, and along with a lot of other kids, played under the house back when we were little. Well, I was outside and just happened to be playing under the house that day. And my mom, not my granny, but my mom, and she was not there um, when I was growing up, but sometimes she was there, and she happened to be there at this time, and she come outside, and and she was calling me to come inside. Well, old Glenn being Glenn, I decided I was going to hide under those steps. Those steps were concrete steps, but they were kind of like in sections, and they were hollow up under the steps, and so you could get up under them and from the backside from under the house and get under there and hide. And so I decided that that's what I was going to do. I was going to play hide and seek from my mama. So I got up under there and hid, and she went all out through the yard calling me. And if you turned your head just right and put it up against the steps, you could look out. It was a little bitty crack, and you could look out and see them. Well, I was under there just having me a ball. And they were just, she was calling me. She went in the house and she got the rest of the family, and they were all out searching all over here, all over everywhere, calling and looking for me. And I just thought it was the funniest thing because I was hiding. They actually looked up under the house, but because I was in the steps tucked back up under there, they couldn't see me. They didn't know I was there. And so I thought that was the best game of hide and seek that I had ever played. Well, I finally decided I needed to come out. Well, I should have come out a lot sooner. It was not a good ending for Glenn that day. my I don't remember who got me, my mama or my granny, but I promise you I didn't hide from them no more when I went outside. If they called me, I come in the house. So that's another little story that I wanted to share. My family, they've heard it over the years, and so they wanted me to pass it down for other people to hear because you just don't hear people playing under the house anymore. But that's what we did back then. And I've got another story I'll share with you in a minute about playing under the house. Hope you enjoyed. Here's another story about playing under the house. Um, this one happened again when I was a little boy because when I got a little older, the house got underpinned and I got too big to play under the house. But I cannot tell you how old I was when this story that I'm fixing to tell you. I can't remember how old I was, but I was a little guy. I was probably 8 or under. But we were. It was a rainy, ugly day, and my cousins come over. 2 of my cousins. They're both girls. I'm not going to call them by name because I don't want to single out the one that I'm talking about. But she knows who she is, and she probably remembers the story. But we were playing, and we wanted to go outside and play. And because you know cousins they didn't come over. We didn't get to see them that often, so we wanted to go outside and play. Well, it was raining and they wouldn't let us go outside, so we come up with a brainy idea. Well, we'll just play under the house and then we won't be out in the rain. Well, that was okay. We could go out and play under the house as long as we stayed out of the rain. So we went out and got under the house, just me and one of the girls. I don't remember the other one being under there. But we got in there and started playing, and uh, I don't remember what we were playing to start with, but I decided that I was going to make mud pies, and so I went in the house and got a spoon, sneaked me out a spoon, and went outside, and I made me a mud pie, and I don't know how I convinced her to taste it. I, don't, I can't remember. Well, it was just that I convinced her that it was a pie and that it was good. And so I got her to taste that piece of mud pie. I got that spoon where I had stirred it up and made that mud pie, and I got her to taste it. Oh Lord. I, I hope you remember this, girl, because if you could have seen the look on your face when when you bit into that that mud on that spoon, it was priceless. Well, needless to say, the mud pie did not go over too well. She went in the house, and then old Glenn had to go in the house too, and he had to suffer the consequences. I don't think I got a whooping over it, but that was my last time of making mud pies too. So just another little story I wanted to tell. My family's heard this one quite a bit too. So I just wanted to share this one about playing under the house. I hope you enjoyed. This story is about Sunday dinner. I don't know how it was at your house when you were growing up, but Sunday dinner was a big thing at my house, and we really, my granny. I'm going to tell a little bit. I'm going to stretch this story out a little bit, so just sit back and enjoy. Um, my granny was the best, and I know you think that about your granny, but my granny was the best cook. My wife is a good cook now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna down her because she learned from my granny and from her mama too. So she's a good cook. But my granny is by hands down the best cook that people in the neighborhood knew. There didn't nobody that eat her food, and I don't care what it was, that didn't say it was delicious. She was just a really good cook, and really, really, she enjoyed cooking more than anybody that I know, because she enjoyed actually people eating her cooking because she knew that they were going to enjoy it. So she enjoyed cooking so you could enjoy. But anyways, this story it revolves around um, Sunday lunch or dinner as we called it, and it was not the normal people that were there this particular Sunday. Um, my uncle Kenneth was there, and anybody that knew Uncle Kenneth, he was a character. I mean, he always kept everybody laughing, and he was just he wasn't the class clown, so to speak, but he just had a real good demeanor about him, and he could always kind of keep things on the light side. I'll put it like that. Um, and then there was another man that was there, and we called him Uncle Billy. Now, I don't know how your family was, but my family was. Uncle Kenneth was actually my uncle. He was my mama's brother. But if anybody was related to you, I don't care if they were 14th cousins or whatever, if they were older than you were when I was growing up, you most of the time you called them aunt and uncle. And so Billy was not really my uncle, but that's just what we called him. We called him Uncle Billy. And I don't mean anything by this story. It's not degrading in any means, and Billy did not take it in a degrading way. And so, don't take this as me coming against. Uncle Billy was blind; he could not see. And so don't take this that I'm coming and talking about blind people and making fun of them. I'm not. But this is a story that that happened in our house at a Sunday dinner, and it's a story that has been told. I was there, and so it was during my time, but it was a long, long time ago. Uncle Kenneth, his son, he's gone on to be with his Lord, and so is Billy. But anyways, we were at the Sunday table eating dinner, and Granny had cooked what we call new potatoes, and they were fresh dug new potatoes. They were little potatoes about, I don't know, about big as a golf ball, or maybe some of them might have been a little bigger, but most of them were golf ball or smaller. And of course, Granny had a big old spread of fried chicken and potatoes and probably collards and all kinds of stuff. She usually cooked a lot. But anyways, we were Billy, because Billy was blind. Of course, somebody had to get his food out for him, and they got it out and put it on his plate. And he was getting ready to eat, and he went to take his fork and get one of those new potatoes, the round potato, and it was just round. And by him being blind, when he went to um, get it with his fork, he knocked it off his plate. Well, he was blind. He didn't know where it went once it went off his plate. He could feel his plate and knew where that was at. But once it went off of it, he didn't want to go to searching and going all over. So he just asked Uncle Kenneth, just as serious as he could be. He said, "Kenneth, have you seen my potato?" And Ken, Kenneth, with just as straight a face and just as serious as he could say it, he said, "No, Billy, the last time I seen it, it was rolling down 13." and that was the road that we lived on. That was the name of the road. So he said it was rolling down the highway. And Billy, just staying in character, just as serious as he asked him the question, he didn't take no offense by it. He said, "Would you go catch it for me?" But he didn't say it in a joking way. He just said it just as serious. He said, "Would you go catch it for me?" So that's just one of the stories that my family. I let them make a list of the stories they wanted me to tell, and my uh, my little guy, which is 12 years old, if if there's ever a story to be told, he wants to hear the potato story. So here you go, little man. Here's your potato story. I hope you enjoy. This story, I told you a little bit about my granny, but this story is about my granny. This story happened when I was a little bit older. I was a teenager. Um, Me and my wife were actually boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, and we were going to school, and I can't remember if I had my driver's license or not, but anyways, me and my wife rode the bus together, and back then you could get off the bus at really wherever you want to get off the bus. It's not like it is now. So she could have got off the bus with me at my house, or I have no idea. Me and my wife actually met on the bus. It's where we met at. Um, but my granny was she was known in the family as Fasty Fast. And if anybody said anything about Fasty Fast, they know you were talking about Granny, because she did not have many idle moments that she was not working or cooking or doing something. She was not a sit down and watch TV. The only thing that she really watched on TV to mount anything was what she called her stories, which were soap operas. she had a couple of them that she watched. And back during that time, so did every other housewife that didn't work. But she watched the stories. But most of the time, she was up working, doing something all the time. I mean, she was a busy bee, so to speak. And they say that I'm a little bit, I got some of that, some of her blood in me, because as my wife says, I always got to have a project. If I can't come up with a project, I'll start a YouTube channel. So, anyways, I guess I get a little bit of that from my granny. And thank you, Granny. Um, Even though her and my pa both have gone on to be with their Lord. But anyways, this story is about when me and my wife, at the time, my girlfriend, we coming home from school, and I can't remember where we drove. I had my car in and drove home, or I can't remember if it's when we got off the bus together, because we did both. She'd get off the bus at my house, and sometimes I get off the bus at her house. But anyways, we got off the bus, and when we went in, the first thing that we seen, my wife said, "What in the world is going on?" My granny had piled all the furniture in that room. It was the big room at that time. She had pushed all the furniture and got it to the middle of the room, and she had it covered up, and she was in there just painting the walls in the bedroom, in that room, in that big room. And it was just, I had seen that all during my life. Granny, I come home one time, and Granny had painted the kitchen cabinets. She painted them green, and I mean, it was a crabapple green too. It was not a pale green. She had painted them green, and but anyways, I'm not going to get into more of the green paint part of it. But she what she thought about just painting. And I mean, it won't like I went to school that day, and she said, "Well, I'm going to paint today." It's just that you come home and you didn't know what you were going to find with her. If she decided she wanted to do something, she didn't ask Pa to do it. She didn't say call a painter, because we couldn't afford to call a painter. But she didn't ask for nothing. She just got her a paintbrush. Now she might have said, my granddaddy's name, she called him Robert. Which is his name, and she called him Robert. And she said, "Robert, go get me some paint." Now she would do that, and because she didn't drive, she never had driver's license, and so he had to go get the paint if she was going to paint. But I didn't know nothing about it. Neither did my wife, or girlfriend at the time. And we come home and she had just painted the room. So that's just a little story about my granny, who I love dearly and miss her a lot. But that's just a little story I want to tell you about her.
Here's a picture of my granny and my pa, and two of my kids. The young man you see in the picture is my oldest son, and you will see him later on in some more videos. And you can see the green cabinets where my granny had painted. And yes, kids are dressed up. We just come back from Easter Sunday. Is what it looks like. But just wanted to show you a picture of my granny and pa and her green cabinets.
I told you a story about my granny, but I couldn't do a story time without telling you one about my pa. Uh, my wife picked out both of these stories. She wanted me to tell the one about the granny and that I just told, and she wanted me to tell this one. So I'm going to tell it, but before I do, I want to say a little bit about my pa and my granny, if I can say this without getting choked up, because they have gone on, and they've been gone now for over 20 years. And it's like I said in the last clip, I miss both of them dearly. But they were two of the best people that you could ever meet. And I know everybody says that about their family, but I'm talking about my family. So I'm the one telling the story, so I get to tell it the way I want to. But they were. I've never ever in my, and I'm a tired old man, but I've never ever, when they were living or since they've been gone, heard anybody say a bad word about either one of them. They were just two good people. And I'm going to tell you what, they raised me, uh, and I am thankful for everything that they done for me. And that's just, I'm getting a little personal now, and I don't mean to, but I just want to give them their due credit, and because they were good to old Glenn. But now I'm going to tell the story about Pa. I got a phone call from Granny. I was actually grown and married and had moved out of the house when this story happened. But it does concern the house, and I'm trying to stay. I got a lot of stories that I could tell, but I am trying to stay and keep it tied to the house, and because that's what we're talking about now, and that's what we're moving and all that. So we're talking about the house. So I'm trying to keep these stories related to the house. But Granny called me one day and said, "Glenn, you got to come down here." And I got those phone calls periodically, and and to come down there about one thing or another, because they needed my help or wanted me to my opinion or whatever. But anyways, I didn't think it nothing really out of the ordinary. But when I got down there, um, I'm gonna try to find a picture of this and put it up um, where you can see it. Um, and if there's no picture, then it's because I couldn't find one. But anyways, she, my pa was in the house part, in the big room. He was in the house. Remember what we said about calling it in the house and in the kitchen? Well, the living room and where we sit and watch TV, and like I said, the heart of the house was in the kitchen part. But he was in there, and those fireplaces had been covered over, and so you couldn't burn wood in them anymore. They'd been covered over, and they were gas heaters that set out in the room, and then a stovepipe run back in the chimney in there, um, and so it was closed off, and all three fireplaces were like that. But anyways, she called me, and I went down there, and Pa had been in the house part, and somehow or another he seen a snake in the house. Don't get scared, ladies. But he seen a snake in the house, and he didn't tell Granny he seen a snake. A snake. He didn't say anything. He just got his gun, his shotgun, and he shot that snake in the house. And that snake had crawled up there behind that gas heater, and he was trying to get in the chimney because some birds had got down in the chimney. We called them, they were not bats, but they were called chimney swallows. And that's what they were called. And they were just little birds, and they had got in there and laid a nest, and there was some little baby birds in there chirping. And we couldn't get to them because, like I said, the fireplace was sealed up, top and bottom. It was sealed up with a piece of tin, a piece of metal. And but that snake couldn't get to them from the outside, and so the snake had come in the house and was trying to get to those baby birds. Is what he was trying to get to. But my pa grabbed his shotgun and he shot that snake in the house and killed him. So, but the reason they called me is because he blowed a hole in the piece of metal that was back there behind the gas heater. He blowed a big old hole. I mean, it wasn't a little thing; it was a big hole, and he needed me to fix it, and so I fixed it, and I put went and got a piece of metal and temporarily fixed it for him, and then later on, sometime weeks later, I took the piece of metal out and I laid some brick in there and filled it in, cause him and Granny didn't want no more snakes getting in that house. And so I sealed it up for him and made sure that no more snakes could get in there to get to those birds. But um, I get tickled about Granny being in the kitchen, and I can just imagine what happened when that shotgun went off. I could just hear her saying, "Robert, what have you done?" So, but anyways, I was not there when it actually happened, so I don't know how it happened or what was said. But I can just imagine that that's what she said. She come running in there. But but that's the story about Pa, and I'm going to end my storytelling right here. I've a tired old man, and I've rambled on long enough. I hope you have enjoyed the storytelling. I've tried to keep it related to the house. I let the family members pick the stories that they wanted me to tell, and I've got some more stories. And if the family wants me to tell them, like I said, I'm trying to preserve this for history, but it'll be later on. We're going to get back into the house part now, and because that's what this is about. But if they want me to tell some more stories, y'all just pick them out, and I'll tell them the best that I can remember. I hope all of my YouTube followers have enjoyed this. Um, I know you couldn't have enjoyed it as much as I have telling them, but I know my family will enjoy watching these and hearing these stories they've heard 100 times. They'll enjoy them again because it seems like they enjoy them every time I tell them. But thank everybody for watching, and next video will be about the house, and hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.